And hello, everybody. Uh,
Christopher's here. Yay.
yeah, Christopher's here, Jason's here, all the usual suspects. The other Christopher's here too from Oregon. So hello to everybody. The link for the agenda is in the chat box. Um, it's the same agenda we've been using for quite a while. I sent out a couple of messages in the last week saying if anybody wants to add anything to it, feel free. And I don't think anybody did.
Well, I can't edit it.
Oh, you can't edit it. That's weird because I thought anyone with the link can access. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not
Oh,
able
it's
to
set to
add.
viewers. So let me change everybody to editor. Anybody with the link now should be able to edit it now. I don't know if that changes the link.
It shouldn't change the link.
No, it
Just
doesn't
if
look
you
like it
were
changes
already
the link,
there,
but
you
yeah.
may have to refresh.
Yep. So this is the monthly meeting of the koha-US Consortium Special Interest Group. I'm George Williams. I'm the host of this meeting every month. Since there weren't any emails that I got saying, please add this to the agenda, it's kind of stuff that I put on there, which is mostly about 2511. Um, and I did put a reminder that the next meeting will be February 19th, so post Valentine's Day. And as is usual, we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, whatever issues you have that you want to discuss or whatever questions you want to ask. Um, that's what we're here for, is to talk to each other and help each other out. So, has anybody got anything they want to announce or anything they want to talk about or any questions they want to ask? And since nobody is saying anything, I will just dig into,
I have one thing.
well, then speak up, man.
It takes me a second to find the control. Um, I threw out a link to a bug on the Mattermost and Slack channels today, just to remind people of the bug out there or an issue out there with the self-check, which I don't think should exist. And Owen agreed with me that it is a bug, but the self check is blocking uh, patrons on high demand holds because high demand holds uh, it will throw up a message on the staff side letting them know that the if the loan period has been reduced, and apparently that throws the Koha self check into a block. And the end result with that is that it ends up causing either patrons to not notice that there's a warning about that and that they didn't actually check the item out, or it frustrates them and they have to go see a staff member in order to check the item out. And so either items are leaving the library without being checked out, or we're ticking patrons off because of it. Um, and this is a behavior that is not mirrored if you're using any kind of SIP self check. It's only the built in. And so it is a problem. Um, I outlined several things for discussion on that bug. And let me see, let me get that bug number here. Uh,
I put it in the chat. I,
okay,
I
yeah,
grabbed it from Mattermost. It's
nine six.
396474.
Yep. So the question on my mind is why does SIP allow the checkout and the self check not? Why are we allowing that to go on for such a long time if it is indeed a bug? And honestly, I'm wondering why staff need to know about that. At the very least, that should be an option, whether or not we even need to let staff or patrons know about the change in the loan period. Because I mean, if you're printing up due date slips, then that information is there. So it's like I feel like we're throwing up unnecessary roadblocks for this particular feature. So just throwing that out there to everybody.
It's a bug that I haven't experienced because we're not using the changes to the loan periods for high demand items. So it's
We
not
actually had a
something.
discussion about that at our consortia meeting yesterday because we have two libraries that are using the self-check right now, and uh, um, so it only affects a couple libraries, but um, you know the our library was requesting, do we need to still have this high demand feature on? And the libraries overwhelmingly say yes, we like this high demand loan feature, and they don't want to shut it off. And it's a global thing, so you're imposing these global conditions on all the libraries, but it's affecting a couple libraries self checks, and so it's frustrating.
I have a
So
question.
yeah,
I don't use this either. Is there a way on the bug where you could like type out the steps of how to set it up in a test environment? Like I need to turn this on and set these settings so that I can replicate the issue.
sure, absolutely. It's pretty simple. Well, I say that, um, but on the I can just point out right now, but I can go back in there and talk about it. But if you go into the admin settings,
I think what I'm hearing Jason say is that he would like to know how to replicate it so that they can talk about it at the baby devs meeting, probably.
right, right,
And if they don't know
um,
how to, if they don't use, if none of the people that go to that meeting use the feature, they won't know how to set it up to configure it so that they can repeat the problem.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can definitely put steps on there to replicate that.
And I see that Mike is saying in the chat that is this a similar scenario to the materials specified block on self-checks, where there's a workaround for SIP, but not through self-check?
It could be. I mean, so the self check is functioning as an unmanned staff person, really, and so you know I would suspect that any warnings that are being thrown up at staff are blockers for the self check.
I'm wondering if there is a bug for the scenario that Mike is describing. If there's a bug with the bug number on it.
Well, I
So
think, and then Mike may eventually chime in. I think there's a system preference to allow self-checks to ignore the material specified. Like there's a specific preference for that, and it doesn't apply to SIP. So that
oh,
if there is a material specified block for SIP, you have to, well, we're with Bywater, so we have to say specifically ignore this block for SIP transactions, but that is totally separate from the Koha self check. But again, I think there is a preference for that. Is Mike going to chime in, or is he going to make me look it up by myself?
well, I just found a bug that I think might be the one. I just put the bug, it's bug number 34153. It says add ability to allow items with additional material notes to be checked out via SIP. So this might
Well,
be,
that's yeah. That's already possible, but you need to get Bywater or whoever, or if you're self-hosted or whatever, you need to change configuration files. There's nothing in the system preferences for that. So maybe that's what the bug is about. As far as the Koha self-check, there isn't a system preference from what I recall, unless I'm not up to date with something on a newer version, to disable that just for the self-checks. It's across the board. So if you don't want those material specified blocks to pop up at all for staff, like they don't need to bypass it, then the self-check will work. But it's like kind of all or nothing, from what I recall.
Seems like we're overcomplicating the koha self-check a bit, having it function like a staff member. It seems like the self-check needs to function more in line with SIP uh, protocols, not necessarily having to go through SIP, but it seems like it should always align with SIP.
I think the issue is that self-check is being treated as an afterthought. It's like the features are being developed for a staff person at a computer checking things in and out, and the self-check is like, it's like somebody says, we should have a thing that blocks this in this situation, and a developer will say, yeah, I can add that, and they add that without considering that there needs to be an exception for self-check. I don't think it's that it's overcomplicating. I don't think anybody is purposefully overcomplicating self-check. I think what it is that self-check is kind of an afterthought.
Well, I do think it is overcomplicated a bit because, I mean, the way that you're having to set up the Koha self-check in the first place, and the fact that it doesn't work well with Consortia, where you have to do all these behind the scenes changes to Apache in order to accommodate multiple libraries. Um, I think they could make some improvements in that area because, yeah, I do agree that that self-check in general, the built-in self-check is an afterthought in a lot of cases, not just this, not just the blocking messages.
Looks like Jason added 2 more links to Bugzilla in there.
I think that second one is the one that's trying to fix the problem with material specified and the self-check. It's in QA right now.
So I guess I don't really have a lot to say in Bugzilla about the self-check blocks, about the original bug you were talking about, because we're not using the feature that triggers the issues. So, but if anybody else has, if it's affecting anybody else, you should be sure and chime in on that bug 39674. So maybe we can get it moved along. And
Well, would maybe a different and this could be a terrible idea, so feel free to say so. Like, what if we, instead of saying, when high holds happen, it affects self-check disproportionately? Like, what if the bug was self-check should be split out from regular check, uh, just like SIP is? Like, because rather than addressing every single block one by one, what if we just addressed it as a general self-check needs a little bit of an update so that it doesn't try to align with a manned interaction? And I don't know if that would help or just overcomplicate things. And I'm going to go eat my lunch. Bye.
Another aspect that we've been slowly using self-check for is, well, okay, here's a scenario that we have at our library, and we're trying to get more libraries on board with getting away from generic logins on on stations. They'll set up a generic circulation login so all staff can bounce around on the computers, and that complicates things for us because we can't track who did what if they're doing stuff like that. So we've been discouraging that as much as possible. But one of the things that we've learned how to do, and I'm seeing a little bit more, it's starting to pick up more, is that if we get long lines and we need more staff helping patrons, they can ask the person, somebody can come along and say, hey, are you just needing to check out? And they can bring them over to the self-check and help them with the process there. They don't have to log in as themselves. They can help them and expose them to the self-checkout process at the same time, which has really been neat. So I can, anybody can jump in and help reduce the lines at the checkout desk when we're taking advantage of that self-check. It's just those blocking messages are frustrating. And I do agree with Mike that some libraries may want those blocking messages, and I get that. And absolutely, anywhere where we can define what blocks at self-check and what doesn't would probably be a good idea, under the self-check rules. That's my interruption.
Well, I'm adding notes to the agenda where it's mentioning that we talked about this. So I think there's a lot of self-check is, I think, an underused and underloved part of Koha. That's generally the way I feel about it. The way that it's designed, it'd be nice if there was a way to control it from the library, from the branches control rather than from the system preferences.
I think it has a lot of potential, especially, with some of the modifications that I made on our end to simplify the experience for the patrons. It has a lot of potential, but yeah, I do think it's just overlooked a lot. But I think that it's a great tool and definitely can save libraries money where, we don't want to go to the expense of adding a third-party self-check if we can avoid it. But if issues like this can't be addressed, and our only fix other than putting into an enhancement is to pay for a third-party self-check. And so, but self-checks are really, really handy, especially when you're limited on staff.
Our one school district that's a member couldn't survive without self-check because it's they have four schools, and I think two of them, they only have a staff person in the actual library an hour a day.
So they must be using a third party.
No, they're using Koha self-check. It's just
Oh, they are,
configured.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we don't have the issue that you're describing because we
Right.
don't have those blocks on there for the high holds, and they don't have fines at that school.
Right.
And so there's no issues. There are very few things that will trigger an error in self-check at those locations.
And just a little plug, I am a huge advocate for the decrease loan high holds preference because ever since it was introduced, it has simplified things for us, particularly in rules, because we had a lot of libraries that were creating shorter loan periods for several different item types where we were able to simplify our rules with a larger general loan period, and those things that did need those shorter loan periods are automatically applied, and only where needed, which is really, really nice. And we don't have to have a short loan period for new books, or if somebody checks out a new book and there isn't a huge demand for it, they can get it for the full period, which is really nice. And we don't have to go through and redo those loan periods after a certain amount of times because of that. So it's been a really good tool. We've used it ever since it came out, and we actually funded an enhancement for it to make it even better, to take certain statuses into account. So yeah, really good tool. So if you're not using it, you should look at it.
Yeah, I'm not going to look at it. I don't like it. Well, any other questions or issues that people are having outside of self-check? Anything else that's going on for anybody?
I just have one question about the no issues charge. Ours is set at $24.99 globally. If a library wanted to have a higher no issues charge just for them, they want to increase it. I looked through the CircConfirm rules and I couldn't really find a spot where you might be able to do that. Is it right to say that it's not really possible for individual libraries to change that?
My recollection is that it's not possible. It's a global system preference. It would be one. I thought there was some talk at one point about the possibility of moving it into the library, or the Circ rules.
It's in the patron category settings. You can set it, but I assume that it's not going to let you exceed the global limit. Like if you set no issue charge to $25, and then you set a patron category to more than that, I don't know how that'll work with each other.
And that would
Okay.
also mean that you would have to have, well, I don't know how many libraries you have in Tillamook County, or if you're dealing with how many libraries you're dealing with, but you would have to have different patron categories at each library, which we don't have. So that might be an issue.
Yeah, we share patron categories too. Okay. That's kind of what I saw. I just wanted to double check that I wasn't missing anything. Thank you.
You
Oh,
could, so on that global limit, if you didn't want that to be in effect, can you leave it blank, or just set it to something astronomical and just set all your settings in patron categories, or your set up specific patron categories for specific branches? We've done that, limit those patron categories to specific branches.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do that if that becomes an issue. Um, we might also be able to change the global setting. I just wanted to ask here first because, like I said, I have one library who's kind of trying to change the way that they do replacement prices to like a generic fee structure based on item type. And that would allow them to go up a little higher in terms of what blocks a patron. Just out of curiosity, if a staff member hits that no issue charge, they're trying to check something out. Do they have the ability to override that, don't they, in the moment?
I believe
I
so.
think so. I think there are some settings that can be set to whether or not staff can override those or not.
If they have a restriction, I think that blocks them like that, when they go to their checkout screen, at first it won't present the staff member with the checkout box, but then they can click a button to enable that and start checking out to them.
Okay, so not the greatest workaround, but since it hopefully wouldn't come up all that often, they could potentially just override it up to the new amount that they want. Okay, thank you.
I'm
We have
surprised
our
there's
no
no.
issues.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say we have our no issues charge set at $10, and we made that in agreement with the consortium. But then if patrons have lost materials or, they've been charged for something and they still have it checked out, even if it's under that $10, that also blocks it because they're blocked on long overdues. And I think that's in your overdue status notice triggers where you restrict them there.
Yes. Okay.
I was just gonna say I'm surprised that this isn't a bug, but I'm not finding one. I mean, defining no issue charge by branch seems like a obvious thing that many places could use. So it could be a good bug to put in.
Thanks for looking for that, Jason. That actually was another thought that I had of just seeing if that, I mean, it wouldn't, maybe be a while, but that's a good point. Maybe I'll just put that one in there.
I guess my concern for having it set at a different level for each branch would be patrons shopping for branches. Like I'm blocked at this branch, but I'm blocked at Leavenworth, so I'll just drive down the road to Lansing where the block is higher. That would be a concern that my libraries would have. I don't remember what we have it set to, but we've had a lot fewer issues with it. It's all based on lost items now because we only have one library that's still charging fines.
Shopping for branches has been an issue with our libraries because of it being tied into pickup locations or default pickup locations. Ever since we moved to Aspen, we can separate out, their default pickup location in Aspen, which is really nice. And so we don't let patrons touch their home branches because we've had certain resources that were allowed by owning library or the home branch or whatever, and patrons were starting to pick up on that and flip their home branches as they wanted this library's resources or this library's resources. So I know it's not an issue for George because they share everything, but
Not quite everything. It's but there's a lot less concern about that. Most of the resources that we have are statewide or system wide. So most of the smaller libraries, their resources are the same no matter which library you go to. So any other cool questions? This has been good so far. For not having anything on the agenda other than release notes from 2511, this has been good so far.
always happy to disrupt your plans.
Christopher, I have a
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Christopher.
really quick follow-up, Christopher. So when a patron changes their pickup branch in Aspen, it changes their home branch in Koha? Did I hear
No,
that right? Oh,
no.
okay.
In the OPAC, if they wanted to change their default pickup location, they had to change their home branch. And same on the staff side. Patrons say, "Oh, I want to pick up over here where I work." We had to change their home branch, but that
To do the
changes
default.
their access to the resources that they have as well. And the nice thing with Aspen is Aspen has its own setting for default pickup locations that it looks at rather than that home branch, which is really, really nice. It has simplified that for us quite a bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Juliet.
So we just pulled back on our sharing at our consortium. What we were doing is within our county, we were allowing the county libraries to check out at any of the libraries. But outside of the county, it was you had to have your pickup location be your home library. And now we've gone back to everybody can only pick up from their home libraries, except that we have our bookmobile is another option. And we use Aspen, so we can control that on Aspen for our patrons. We just give them the option of Rapid City or the bookmobile. But I was trying to work my brain around this morning. How can I stop the other libraries from selecting us as a pickup location in the OPAC? But I don't care what they do between themselves. If they want to set up lending agreements, that's fine. I just don't want them to be able to choose us as a pickup location anymore.
You can use branch transfer limits. It's a pain in the rear. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that route, but that's kind of what we've had to do.
Because they can get a book from us sent to their library.
Okay, then that won't work.
Yeah.
The pickup location thing is tough. We do have some jQuery that pops up a message that says like, hey, you're not sending this to the patron's library. Are you sure you want to do this? Because we'll probably just have to cancel your hold. That's at least in our situation, like almost never do we want the pickup location to be another library. So if staff are doing it, then it's they're just not paying attention and they're just trying to place a hold on something they don't have access to. So they end up setting a pickup location for a library that could get it, even if theirs isn't listed. So we have that pop-up message. That's kind of the best we've been able to do.
I'll have to think about how we did it before we added reciprocal borrowing back in, if there was any way to control. We might have had some jQuery that only lets you select something in the OPAC as the pickup location. I can't remember though.
So essentially what I'm hearing is that what you're trying to do is force people to use their home library as their pickup location, with the exception of the bookmobile for the patrons. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds complicated.
Yeah, and I think it's mostly working. It's just that I don't want somebody from Hill City to put something on hold and select Rapid City as the pickup location, then show up here and we tell them you can't check this out here. You have to go back home, put it on hold again, and then have it sent to your library. And so that's the frustration.
It sounds complicated.
We only just switched over, so I have some more time to think about it before I'm sure somebody will end up doing it.
What's the reasoning behind this decision to go that direction?
So we had some pushback in our county on how much funding Rapid City was getting for library services. And so we had to fight to get our money and funding. And then part of our contract is if somebody lives within the city limits of another city that has a library, we don't provide them services. They're supposed to go to their library. And it all has to do with funding stuff. And so we're pretty much saying, because of all this, you guys need to use your libraries because they're getting money from the county and we're getting less money. So use them.
That makes sense. It's unfortunate, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Bob, did you say that was library transfer limits?
Yeah, branch.
Branch.
They might have. Let me just double check because I think they might have changed the name, so I want to make sure I get the right name. It is, yes, library transfer limits is what they call it now.
And the reason you guys use that is because you have some libraries where you want to make they don't share as freely as other libraries because of the size of the group, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. It also helps with whenever there's like a school closure, it's a way that we use to ensure that the school can't request, like patrons, the students of that school can't request items during the summer, but also can't have their materials requested. Because when you just, in the CIRC rules, when you just turn it off, depending on what your reserves control is set at, it only does one of those things. So we need to make it so it does both. And so that's we've actually figured out the reciprocal borrowing a little bit better by using some unique item types. And then I just have in everybody's circ rules, like things blocked that way that they can only get, like if you're a library that doesn't lend DVDs, then you're in every single branch's circ rules, it'll say whether or not you can use that. You can lend that. It'll block that from being lent. So we've taken care of that, but we find we still have use for it in ensuring that when there are closures that we can make sure that the requests aren't going through to a library that's closed. So there's just unfortunately a few layers of stuff we have to deal with, and the branch strips limits are, like I said, truly awful, but we haven't figured out a way to completely do away with them.
Mike is making some comments in the chat box. You know, Chip was talking about ideas for presentations at the regular meetings, just like 15 minutes of explaining how to do something or talking with somebody from a company. I think it'd be really interesting to have Bob explain how to use branch transfer limits, because I think there's a lot of people that don't understand it. And because it is kind of complicated and hardly anybody uses it.
I mean, I would, Jason's heard me talk about this for like years. So is it interesting, Jason?
And the only thing I've learned from you talking about it is that I'm never going to touch it.
Yeah, that's usually people's takeaway is like, make him stop. I don't want to do this ever.
Well, I'm going to suggest it to Chip that Bob should talk about how it works and why you use it, and then maybe Jason can rebut at the end and say, this is why I'll never use it.
No, I'd be happy to do it. I promise I would do it under 15 minutes. So it's not as painful.
Because I've heard you talk about it a lot too over the like last 7 or 8 years. And it always sounds interesting, and it always, but every time I hear more, the more I hear about it, the more confused I am about how it works and what it's good for. So.
Yeah, and I've got 2 use cases because we have 2 different servers, because we have our prison libraries on a different server,
right,
and they're using it a little bit differently. So I can kind of compare the 2 different ways we're using it.
Cool. Well, I'll send an email to Chip later. So.
Okay.
On Jason's comment about the hold groups, when we were splitting our consortium, that was a huge help. We were able to create hold groups, and what could be held where, and that saved us a lot of headache and helped us rein in our items and bring them home before we did this split. And so that was a lifesaver for us. I really like that tool. We don't implement the hold groups now, but when we did, that was really helpful. But there were some caveats to it. You did have to define them in all. You had to define them all. I think we were trying to define some, and it was causing some weird side effects if you didn't define all branches in some way. So it was interesting. It was a learning curve, but when we got it worked out, it was really nice.
What we use the hold groups for is we have the school district and then one library district with 4 branches, and so the school district is a hold group, and the Donovan County Library with its 4 branches are a hold group. And then we have the something priority. I forget the name of the system preference, but it's the one that says, if the library that owns the item, when the pickup location matches the owning location on an item, then those requests get filled first. So all the Donovan County branches, because they're in a hold group and the priority is based on groups, so all of the Donovan County materials fill all of the Donovan County requests first, and then they fill the requests at the other locations is how we have it set up.
And that's separate from local holds priority?
Yeah, local holds priority is the name of it.
Oh.
It's an addition to local holds priority. It used to be that the local holds priority was just where the item home library matches the pickup location, or the patron's home library matches the pickup location, whatever. I forget all the variables to it, but we paid for a development to have groups added to there. So if the patrons, we have it set so that if the home library group of the item matches the pickup library group, then those requests get priority. So that way, it used to be that the Donovan County books are mostly added at the Troy Library, and so all of the holds would get filled at first at Troy for the Donovan County Troy requests, and then Donovan County, Wathena, and Elwood and Highland would get filled afterwards they would get mixed in with all the other branches because they didn't own a copy. But now all of the Donovan County libraries are as far as local holds priority is concerned, they're all one library, and all of those holds get filled first, and then all of the holds at all the other libraries get filled after that. You're looking up at, you're stargazing, so I'm not sure you're getting it. So, but you are okay.
I am. I was just checking my schedule because I have something right after this meeting. So,
Yeah.
but I am taking it. But yeah, it is an aspect that I'm thinking about whether or not we need to implement or not. I mean, because we do have groups. We have some county libraries that are, they're a set of 4 libraries, and I'm wondering if that would be something that, some of these little pockets would be uh, better served if they were in those groups rather than, just their owning library being priority in those local hold priorities. I see the benefit of having those hold priorities cascaded out.
Yeah. And I noticed Michelle put the bug in there. That bug was co-sponsored by CLAMS and by NEKLS. And for CLAMS, I know that the issue was is that they wanted the materials to fill all the requests on the island that the libraries were on before they got shipped off of the island to go to other places in that consortium, because they do have a lot of locations that are not. They do have some locations that are not on the mainland, and so they didn't want to ferry books across the water to have them fill a hold and then ferry them back to fill another hold. And they wanted all the holds on the island filled first before the books got shuttled across the ferry.
So does the local holds priority in conjunction with the hold groups, does that tend to work better than the transport cost matrix, or does it work better in tandem with the transport cost matrix? I'm just kind of curious.
It works independently of the transportation cost matrix, because the transportation cost matrix only really applies if there's a choice to be made.
Mhm.
It's only saying if there are multiple copies available, fill them in this order. Whereas local holds priority is saying if all of the materials have holds on them, fill them in this order.
Well, it depends on how you're using the transport cost matrix. I mean, if you're going off of distance on that, then that's part of how it's selecting which item to grab in order or preference. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, and that's the issue, is because there's a selection being made there, and in order for the transportation cost matrix to make a selection, there have to be items available.
mhm.
But local holds priority is only really important when there are no items available. Because if you've got a new book where you've got 10 items and 50 holds, then local holds priority is saying when this book gets checked in, don't send it 50 miles away if there's a hold here. But transportation cost matrix is saying, well, there's books in this corner and in this corner and in this corner. Get me the ones that's closest.
Curious. I need to do some more playing around with the hold groups, but I remember that you could create groups and define which branches are under that. Can you nest multiple levels on those groups,
No,
or is it just one level?
I think it's just one level if I remember correctly. I remember that was part of the discussion with the development of that bug is this isn't going to work with nested groups.
Mhm.
So there is a way to say fill all of the, like if you have a group of 4, you can say first fill the ones at the library that owns the item, and then fill the ones in the group, and then fill the ones outside the group. But you can't say fill the ones in this group and then in this group and then in this group and then all the others. You can't nest them like that.
Mhm.
So it's giving priority to the patrons in the hold group or to the items in the hold group?
I pulled up the system preference. So if you do a search in the system preferences, it's local holds priority is the name of the preference. But if you search for that one, you'll get all 3 of them. It's local holds priority patron control, and local holds priority item control. And so you've got multiple options. You can say give the library group, the way we have it set is give the library group priority for filling holds to patrons whose pickup library matches their home library. And when you've got it set to group, then it reads pickup library as pickup library group matches the item's home library group is the way to read it. So you can change this in any way. You can say give the library group priority for patrons whose home library matches the item's home library or holding library.
But this is prioritizing which patron gets the item next, not which library fills it with their item.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's
why we don't tell patrons what position they are in the holds queue because of that flex.
Yeah, if a patron sees that they're number 2 on the waiting list, but their library doesn't own any copies of that item, that doesn't mean that they're going to be the second one that gets it. It means they're going to be the second one that gets it once there's an item available to go to their library. And we have that issue a lot where like our library in Baser pre-orders everything. They create on order records and they order things months in advance. And then a lot of the smaller libraries, their patrons will place holds on those things. Sometimes they will be number 1 or 2 and holds on those things. And then they say, well, I don't understand why I placed this hold 2 months ago and it's checked out to everybody else and I didn't get it. It's because their library didn't buy one or didn't buy one yet.
And we were grateful when an enhancement was made where we could control. I know on specific items, but I think item types or records, you can exclude them from the local holds priority, which is nice because, for example, we're one of the few libraries that have hotspots. And if the local holds priority was always in effect on those, none of the other libraries outside of our library, none of the patrons of those libraries would ever see a hotspot because they're high demand. And so we exclude those so that everybody gets a fair shot. We want to be able to share that particular resource with everyone and give other people an opportunity to use them.
And our libraries specifically don't share that resource. Those items are not don't fill holds, only fill holds at their home libraries because our libraries Our courier doesn't want to ship them through the courier system is what it comes down to. They don't want to have those things going through the courier system.
We just did away with holds on our hotspots, so check back with me in a month or two to see how well that's going with our patrons. Our patrons
Wow.
aren't super happy about it, but it is actually making it so that more checkouts are happening because they're not waiting on the hold shelf for the next person. And then we are adding a note to a patron's account saying that they've had their hotspot checkout for the month and they have to come back next month to get it again.
I will say on the topic of hotspots, I will say um, hotspots are a funny thing because patrons will hoard them or hold on to them for as long as they can if you don't control them in some way. And uh, we've used T-Mobile forever because we get a better unlimited service through them than other vendors, but their portal has changed over the years where, first of all, it takes a while for that to kick in. And basically the portal is just a glorified order form and not actually in control of the device. And so they were limiting it to, so if you were to suspend a hotspot, you're only allowed 2 temporary suspensions per year on a device. And after that, you have to mark it lost. And if you don't mark it unlost or even found within a certain period, it disappears from your account completely, which was really frustrating. But the hotspots that we upgraded to a while back, they're Jetstream hotspots by Franklin. Really nice hotspots, 5G, and the company that makes those hotspots, they offer a service that was like it was $22 per unit for the year, I think, where you go into their interface, you can control that device, lots of aspects of that device remotely, and shut it off, and put a message on the screen, which was really nice, and it's instantaneous. And if they changed the SIP card, or not the SIP card, the SIM card in there, it doesn't change the fact that they don't have control over that device, so they can't put their own SIM card in there and still use it, which is really cool. So you have complete control over that device, instant control, and we've seen a huge improvement in return rates on those since we added that control service on that.
We have our hotspots provided by Verizon because our city is kind of locked in to Verizon, and they have mobile device management turned on, and so we're able to log into a secure portal and turn off the device whenever. The biggest issue we've had is they just upgraded and now we have to do two-factor login, and so every morning we get a text on our supervisor phone for a code that we have to give them. But it's been really nice because staff can just do that. They log in and they deactivate and reactivate whichever devices, and then we're good to go for the day.
I'm going to bug out because I have another meeting, but I'll see you guys. Have fun.
See you later.
So this is sort of timely because I've been spiraling on keeping track of hotspots and Koha. This week has been a project, and I learned how to do something neat, so I can share that if you guys want to see.
Sure.
So
You got 5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right, I'll keep it short. So we're looking at using a damage status to track deactivated hotspots. One of the requests was to put it over in the renew column so that if it's deactivated and the patron calls, the staff member knows that they probably shouldn't renew that because the patron will just get mad. So that was one of the things I did. But the cool thing was with the reports dashboard or reports template. So I wrote a report, created a dashboard, and then on the dashboard, I just made little buttons that do a little put call that will switch the status instantaneously from the report. So the staff members can just go in there and manage those all in one place instead of having to go edit individual items. So like I go over here. There's a lot. You can see that they've been deactivated. If I go back to my thing and then crush it. They're no longer deactivated. So I was excited to figure out how to do that. And I'm still polishing it, but we'll talk about that more at koha customization sig once I get it figured all out.
That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that does. I'd like to see more of that.
Is that on your production system yet, or is that on your test system?
I just moved it to my test system yesterday from a dev box because I was afraid of making API calls on my test system because I thought that might like blow things up because I don't know what I'm doing. So it's just on my test system right now.
Well, once it's
And
on your production system, I can go steal it.
You can steal it from my test system too. Your login probably works both places.
Yeah, I don't know the URL for your test system. I'll have to get that from you.
But it's like I said, it's not ready. It's all built using a report template. So like all the scripts that are doing stuff are just in a script tag in the report template as well. So it's all sort of self-contained for the most part.
Cool.
Well,
according to my clock, we got 3 minutes left. Anybody else have anything they want to go out on a high note with, or?
I was just gonna say to Jason that I kind of figured out how to do that little dashboard too for our hotspots, and then I did it for our Chromebooks. And I saw staff using it the other day, and I was really happy that they were using it. So those little dashboards and HTML customizations are really fun. I think I learned that from Juliet.
Cool. Well, on my clock, it says 11:58.
Oh, I wanted to mention, I talked about this ad nauseum with the koha customization sig, but since we talked about it here last month, I did put my templates in from my new hold flips into the wiki if anybody wants to take a look, and there's a little PDF of what they look like.
I've been thinking about putting ours up because we have ours printed sideways, so that would be helpful.
Yeah, the main things I was like excited about with those were Caroline had put in how to check hold preference settings. So I used that to put that on the slip. And then also leveraging those additional branch fields that you can set for libraries. That wasn't in the, I had to sort of figure that out myself. So I added that to the template there.
I like the differentiation between hold and return. I've got our slips. I've got the Kansas courier numbers in ours.
Yeah, ours are at the bottom, just kind of tiny in the little footer section there.
I tried to make ours look as much like the courier labels for the state of Kansas as possible so that it's easy to look at the slip and look at the label and say, well, these two look alike. Even with that, though, I still have, Sabetha High School saying, I keep getting things for Sabetha Library and so on. So
One of the additional fields I set up was an alias field for the libraries. So like we've got Independence Public Library and Independence Community College. So I gave them nicknames that were wildly different. So Independence Public says Independence PL and Indy CC says like ICC Library. So like if we were using just the branch code out of Koha, it looks the same. But if you use those aliases, it differentiates enough that people make less mistakes, hopefully. I don't know. I just launched this at the beginning of the year, so we'll see.
yeah, it's always hard to measure mistakes that aren't actually in Koha. So well, this is the last call for somebody to say, oh yeah, I've got something else. So The next meeting will be on February 19th, and I'll send out an email. I've already got the email scheduled, I think, um, in Google Mail. So you should everybody get a email about a week or so before, and I'll make sure this time that the agenda link goes to an editable version of the agenda. So if anybody wants to add anything, that'll be in there. So it'll be the same link. I'm just going to add a new section for February. So see y'all later. Have fun at the rest of the meetings you all have today, because if you're like me, there's more coming.